Crafty friends, it's Jess from jesscrafts.com, and today I'm here with another set of cards, and they were inspired by the same thing yesterday's set of cards was, if you saw that video. I am sharing these with the Caring Hearts card drive as well as the Coffee Lovers blog hop. So I have these images from Hello Bluebird's Skating Party stamp set. There are a lot of images from the stamp set of critters who are skating, but there were then these three images of critters who are enjoying a warm drink. And in the stamp set, there's actually a log that you could sit them all on, but I was going to keep today's cards a lot more clean and simple than that, so I'm not going to use that image. To get started, I'm actually going to color one of each of these images for you in the video to share some tips about how I color with Copics. I use 110 pound Michael's Recollection cardstock. I am not saying that this is the best cardstock, it's just the cardstock that I learned to color on, and so therefore gives me consistent results. When I try other cardstocks, I tend to have some issues, and I think it's just because I'm not used to them. So for the penguin, I started off by coloring his feet with YR07 and 04, just really, really simple shading at the bottom of his feet. And then since I knew I was going to take out the C markers, I actually took the C0 and I colored all the tops of the cups, but because it is such a light gray marker and there's no color around it, you can't even see that. But when I did go in to color the coffee cups, whether it be the lids or the sleeves of them, or sorry, like the main body of them actually, because the sleeves are going to match the critters, I colored them all at once to save time. One of the nice things about making a bunch of cards at once is that you can go a little bit faster by doing some batch processing, which I talked about yesterday when I made 8 cards with the same stamp set. Today I'm actually going to make 6, and so I'm going to do some similar sort of batching things. It may have made more sense to color both penguins at the same time, but it didn't really make sense for filming. And it also is a little bit, like, I personally like to move the cardstock around a lot when I color. So I thought that could get a little bit frustrating on the video if I kept like flipping back and forth between the two penguins. What's nice though is when I go to color the second penguin, I don't have to think about what colors to use. I had actually picked out or had in mind what my colors of Distress Oxide ink that I will be using to make the sentiments. I kind of knew what they were going to be, and I actually made an example of the pink one just to kind of test my idea. So I went to my Copic hex chart and I tried to pick out 2 pink colors that would blend well together and that I thought would coordinate well with the pinks that I chose for my sentiment. However, I felt like these pinks wound up a little bit more orangey than I intended. Now I did use worn lipstick and picked raspberry for my pinks, and worn lipstick does tend to have a bit of an orangey color, but ultimately I decided to add some R83 to the R20 and 22 that I used that wound up just a touch more orangey. So here I'm going to take E55 and 53 to color the main body of the coffee cup, and again all the critters are going to have those same 2 colors. So now you can see all the critters' coffee cups are colored in. For the penguin, I did use C9, C7, and C5. All the colors of Copics will be in the video description if you are curious and want to match them up. Here for the bear, I'm going to use the E20s. I'm going to use E27, 25, and 23. I think that sometimes it can be beneficial if your colors are a little farther apart to lay down a base of your lightest color first, and you sometimes get better blending that way. So in this case, I actually found that my darker colors didn't blend in as much as I would have liked. So in the future, I might instead go in with a base layer of the E23 unless I really was looking for a high contrast. Here for the snout, I did want to make it a lighter brown, but I didn't want to keep picking out new colors of Copics, so I just made it the same brown that I used for the coffee cups. And again, that was just one little way of saving a bit of time. When I color in the bear and the rabbit, they both have those caps on that have like the little pom-pom and the possibly fur around. So I thought, again, to keep it simple, I would simply color them both in what is essentially a white, even though I'm using the C's. So I'm going to use C1 and C00, but they're going to look white in the end. And I am using BG15 and 13 for the teal colors because I know that I'm going to use Peacock feathers and Mermaid Lagoon for my blues. And so I'm trying to match a bit more of the teal than the blue. So I am thinking of these two color combinations as kind of like the peacock feathers. Basically with all these critters, I'm able to color them in a neutral color and then put a little bit of their accessories as the color that matches the cards so that the cards overall are kind of like a monochromatic card and are kept pretty simple. Yesterday, and when I was talking about another set of cards I made for the card drive, the Caring Hearts card drive serves senior citizens, and I thought it was smart to try to consider like a variety of people would be receiving these. Like, for instance, both men and women. And so trying to maybe keep things such that they weren't too masculine or too feminine, try to keep everything neutral would be a good idea. But I just couldn't resist this color combination. My mom is obsessed with pink for Christmas time, and it's kind of like rubbed off on me. And so I think of using pink a lot at Christmas time. So I did make a pink and a purple card. And not that dudes can't enjoy a pink or a purple card, but maybe I should have like had a green one or something thrown in there to kind of mix it up. And I am going to use a little bit of sparkle at the end and sparkle in the words, but I think at Christmas time, sparkle's for everyone. Everybody loves tinsel, right? So for the purples, I did pick V12, 15, and 17, and I must say, these are not my favorite Vs, and I forgot about that until I'd already picked them out. And I also picked them because I thought they would go maybe a little better with my Distress Oxides that I'm going to use, Seedless, Preserves, and Wilted Violet, but they just take so much effort to blend. I would suggest starting with the lightest color because that can help your blend, maybe doing tip to tip with the V12 and V15, or just being patient and really kind of working with the colors. My preferred V combination or purple combination is actually V20, 22, and 25. So I might recommend those instead if you have those. To really make sure that I got good shadows, this is a tip that I don't always use, but can be quite helpful, is to go back with your darkest color and put just the thinnest, tiniest line of your shadow color and don't even try to blend it. Just let that shadow sit there and sort of deepen up your coloring. So I want to show how I got the sort of ombre effect that all of the die cut words have. So I recently picked up a handful of things from Hello Bluebird. They were having a sale and then they had their new release, and so I actually wound up placing like 2 different orders. And when the new release came out, it had this Warm Wishes large sentiment, and I had recently worked with the large Boo to You sentiment, and I just really liked the way that it was able to be a large element on the card. So I wanted to work with this one as well. I took a piece of Again, just Recollections 110-pound cardstock. It's what I use for most things. And I laid down some picked raspberry, some worn lipstick, and I blended them together. I'm using Distress Oxides, but regular Distress inks would work very similarly. And then I'm going to spritz it. This is Imagine Crafts glitter spray. This is like my favorite because it's really subtle, but it has enough shimmer that when you see it in real life, you can, like really catch your eye. When I spritzed all of my pieces of cardstock with it, I used a box to sort of contain the mess. So I took an old shipping box, I think from Amazon, but like literally like a shoebox would work great too, whatever you have on hand. And I just cut the sides at a diagonal. And that allowed me to, like be able to get in there and manipulate things rather than if I had the whole box. But at the same time, it contained the mess quite a bit. When I'm doing the blues, as mentioned before, I'm using Peacock feathers and Mermaid Lagoon. I'm making a whole bunch of them all at once, and I'm working on my Ranger craft sheet because I find that when I remember to, it allows me to get quicker coverage. Whereas if I work on the like white paper that I usually use, it absorbs a lot of the ink on, and I don't, it makes it harder to blend. But unfortunately, the craft sheet does give you a little bit of a glare. So you kind of have to take the good with the bad there. So here I'm also going to make my purples really quickly. I'm going to use Wilted Violet and Seedless Preserves. Seedless Preserves has a lot more red in it, and Wilted Violet is what I think of to be more of like a true purple. But they still wind up creating a fun ombre look together. As you can see, I have 2 pieces of cardstock cut to the right size for the sentiment, and I was able to put the Seedless Preserves on both and then the Wilted Violet on both. Again, trying to take advantage of the fact that I am making a set of cards so I can simplify things and maybe get them done a little bit faster. Even with all those little like time-saving things that I tried to do, these are actually surprisingly long cards to make, and I think it was for a few reasons. All of these sentiments, instead of just cutting them out one time out of the colored cardstock, I am going to cut one from the colored cardstock, and then for each of the 6 cards, I'm cutting 2 more Warm Wishes sentiments out of scraps of white cardstock because I want them to really be like a dimensional element on the card. So here again, I'm trying to save some time by spritzing a bunch and letting them dry together. But when I went to cut the Warm Wishes sentiments, at the end of the day, like, you still have to send each one through the die cut machine separately. And so that takes some time. And then you have to glue them all down. And you could try to use like a pre-sticky sheet, like such as Stick It. And that way when you die cut them, they're already sticky. But honestly, I don't have much success with that. I find that it makes it harder to die cut, and then things are like too sticky, whereas liquid glue is very forgiving and lets you sort of move the dies around on top of each other. So while this was very time consuming, ultimately, I really love the way these cards came out, even though they are like crazy simple. I just thought that they still had a really big special impact, especially when you can truly see the glitter. So another thing that is very subtle about these cards is the background that I chose. It is and was very hard to pick up on camera, but I tried to show you there and I showed you the die. This is from Cat Scrappiness. It's a large background die called Stitched Winter Swirl Backdrop. And basically it cuts little indents of these beautiful swirly snowflakes. And again, that really like subtle but beautiful thing that I think is perfect for Christmas. It is just the tiniest bit bigger than an A2 size card. because it has those rounded corners. And so it fits on, these are A2 size cards that I cut, but the die kind of hangs off them just a little bit on every edge. And again, those I had to send through the machine. I actually was able to send like the warm wishes sentiment and the background through my die cut machine at the same time. But even still with all that, it took a while. So I'm going back to my Distress Oxide inks. What's nice about Distress Oxide inks is they actually do a pretty good job of just plain stamping as well. And this is a really subtle little tiny stamp, so most ink would do the job, but just something to keep in mind about Distress inks. So I'm just going to show you one of them, but I'm doing the same process for all of them. I am stamping the little tiny snowflake from the Skating Party stamp set in a triangle, a visual triangle. And then I'm adding a cat Scrappiness jewel next to each of the snowflakes that I stamped. So I'm using the teal jewels, the pretty pink jewels, and the purple jewels from Cat Scrappiness. Obviously, I encourage you to check out your stash and see what you've got going on, but her gems are super nice and shiny. So once I had all that done, that was it for my cards today. I have a 6-card set by trying to take advantage of some of those mass production tips. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're interested in more crafting tutorials, be sure to subscribe to my channel. I will leave you links in the video description below to the blog hop, the card drive, and all of the products that I used today. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.